I was 27 when that summer afternoon seared itself into my memory. We were in the town square, the sun heavy on our shoulders, the kind of heat that makes shadows cling to the ground. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Just me, my boyfriend's son, and a friend of his, killing time with cones in our hands. But then mine started melting faster than I could keep up. Thick, sticky lines traced down my fingers, slow and deliberate, almost as if the ice cream knew exactly where to go. I tried to lick it away before it reached my wrist, but my hands were already too occupied. That's when he noticed, leaning forward, eyes locked, offering me a single folded napkin. His fingers brushed mine in a way that lasted just a fraction too long for an accident. The look in his eyes wasn't the casual kind you give someone over ice cream. It was searching, reading me. And in that moment, I felt the air shift. The noise of the plaza dulled, the laughter of kids in the fountain blurred into the background, and all I could hear was the faint, sticky sound of sugar meeting skin. Before I go on, if you're still here, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Trust me, you're going to want to hear the end of the story. I should have just taken the napkin and moved on. But instead, I hesitated. My fingertips pressed against his just slightly. A subtle challenge neither of us acknowledged. His friend kept talking, oblivious, but I couldn't pull away. Not yet. The heat outside didn't compare to the warmth radiating from that single point of contact.
I wish I could tell you that I broke the connection right there in the square, that I took the napkin, wiped my hand, and laughed it off. But that's not what happened. Instead, I kept the cone tilted toward the sun, letting the last stubborn scoop soften just enough to send another thick ribbon sliding down between my fingers. His eyes followed it, like he was tracking something rare and delicate, the way you might watch a bead of water on glass before it falls. The plaza bustled around us, kids darting between benches, couples in sundresses and rolled-up sleeves sharing cold drinks, but I felt like we were inside our own frame, silent and slow compared to the rest. He tore the napkin in half, offering me one piece while keeping the other, as if that shared square of paper created some unspoken pact. When his hand brushed mine again, it wasn't hurried. His thumb caught the edge of my index finger, just grazing the path the melted ice cream had taken. I laughed softly, pretending it was all in good humor, but the sound didn't match the way my chest tightened. He looked at me then, really looked, like he was measuring how far this moment could stretch before it would snap. I finally dabbed my fingers with the napkin, but every motion felt deliberate, almost staged. My tongue traced the last of the melting swirl before it reached the edge of the cone. His gaze flickered, quick and sharp, then settled back on mine. And for a split second, the idea crossed my mind. Maybe the ice cream wasn't the only thing that was melting too fast. I shifted slightly on the bench, letting my knee.
By the time the cone was nothing but a fragile wafer in my hand, the sun had dipped just enough to soften the glare over the plaza. The last smear of vanilla clung to the tip, warm from the heat, daring me to take that final bite. I tilted it toward my lips, but paused when I felt the weight of his eyes again. Not casual glances anymore, but fixed, deliberate. I turned slightly, as if to shield myself from the light, though in truth it was to close the gap between us. The air smelled of fresh waffle cones and the faint cologne he must have borrowed, a scent that didn't match his age but suited him too well. My shoulder brushed his arm, and I didn't pull away. Neither did he. As I bit the last crisp piece, a tiny crackle escaped, louder than I expected, drawing his attention to my mouth. The moment stretched, just long enough for the noise of the plaza to fade into something muffled, like we were underwater.
His fingers rested against his knee, close enough that if I moved even slightly, we'd touch again. He leaned in, maybe to say something, maybe for nothing at all, but his voice caught in the air before it reached me. And there, in that half-inch space between us, I felt the heat of him, a warmth that didn't belong to the sun. My pulse quickened in a way that had nothing to do with sugar. The friend finally noticed the napkin still in his hand and teased him for holding on to it. He smiled faintly, but kept it, as if it had become something more than paper, a souvenir of a moment no one else knew existed. I stood, brushing crumbs from my dress, pretending the spell was broken. But as we walked away, side by side, I caught him glancing down at his fingers, the same ones that had brushed.
We left the plaza slowly, our steps matching without us trying. The air had cooled a little, but my skin still carried that sticky warmth from earlier, the kind that clings long after the sun is gone. The street lights flickered on, one by one, and in their soft glow, every glance between us seemed to speak louder than any word could. At one corner, we paused for the traffic light. He shifted closer, the faint brush of his arm against mine, setting off that same ripple as before. My fingertips tightened around my small purse, not because I needed to hold it, but because I didn't trust what they might reach for if left free. I could feel his gaze moving from my face to the curve of my wrist, then back to my eyes, like he was memorizing a map he wasn't supposed to have. When we reached the house, the friend went straight inside, leaving us alone in the soft hum of the night. He stopped just before the door, handing me the napkin I thought he'd forgotten. "You dropped this," he said, though we both knew I hadn't. My fingertips grazed his as I took it, and in that one electric second, the world tilted again. It would have been so easy to step back, to let the door close between us, to pretend the afternoon had been nothing but ice cream and laughter. But instead, I lingered. So did he. The air between us felt thick, heavy with everything unspoken. And maybe that was the real dessert, the one neither of us could finish. As I finally slipped inside, I glanced over my shoulder. He was still there, still holding my gaze like a secret.